Thanks for joining me in this segment of Belly Flopping into Mysticism. In this segment, I'm just going to share another one of my what I call goofy stories, goofy connections. A couple weeks ago, I was leaving the thrift store downtown, and they had a couple of bins, a couple of tote bins of books. They apparently had too many books in their stock, and so they were giving away a bunch of them. And I like to go through and at least see if there's anything of interest. I came across a book entitled Power Vision. It's one of these that has a series of patterns in a page. And then if you kind of soften your eyes and look at it a little differently, it can take on a 3D effect. And that was actually an analogy that I was planning on sharing sometime or writing up as a story in terms of the types of experiences I've had with non-ordinary states of consciousness. It's that you look at something and you see it from a different perspective, a deeper perspective. It takes on more dimensionality, which is what happens with these cases where you're looking at a flat surface, but because of the way the pattern is and the way your brain and mind see it, it can take on additional dimensionality. So that was one of the books that was there for the taking. I thought, well, I may as well go ahead and grab it. It just is a nice reminder of one of the analogies and topics I wanted to further share at some point. So I came home, opened it up, flipped through, and I actually chuckled because at some point a small playing card fell out. It was a Barbie card, which I loved Barbie as a young girl. And of course, there was the movie that came out in 2023. And I flipped it over and I noticed it was the Six of Diamonds. Well, back in 1998, I think it was probably in April, May timeframe, that I had been in downtown Seattle and there was a turning display of a bunch of different bookmarks. And each bookmark had a different card of the playing series, clubs, spades, diamonds, hearts, and then ace through king. There was even a joker in there. And as I looked through, of course, I don't put a whole lot of stock in this kind of thing, but I was just kind of playing around and I looked up, of course, my birthday. I looked at my family's birthdays and I noticed that, boy, that isn't a bad starting hand. There was a pair in there. And then me with two of my other siblings made almost a run. So if there was a fourth card in there, it would have tucked in nicely. And I just thought, that's kind of intriguing. That's just kind of fun. And when I got home, I actually found it so interesting. Each of those cards had a description with it, not like a horoscope necessarily, but just kind of a description around it. I thought, well, that's kind of fun. That's kind of interesting. So I actually ordered the book that described all the playing cards. So when this Barbie card fell out, I thought, I wonder what dates that corresponds to. Of course, in a standard deck with the Joker, you have 53 playing cards. And of course, you have 365 days of the year, 66 if you include leap year, and February 29th. So basically, each card in a deck corresponds to about 5-6 different dates, calendar dates of the year. So I grabbed my trusty little book. I look up the Six of Diamonds, and yeah, that's the one that corresponds to my birthday. I'm not saying there's anything overly significant about that, but I did chuckle, and I still do, obviously. I just laughed at it. So it goes to that idea of this underlying tapestry. I mentioned in other videos that a friend of mine says it's like finding Easter eggs, these goofy little connections that have meaning to me. May not mean anything to you, but I get a kick out of it. So anyway, you never know what you might find tucked away into the Power Vision. And actually, I should add that where that was tucked in, I looked at it. And of course, the pattern, I couldn't make out the larger shape that would take on a 3D effect, but it was of a butterfly emerging from a cocoon. Again, to a lot of people, that may not take on significance, but for me, that's an analogy I use of this ego collapse breakdown process and something that emerges and transforms out of that. And that's potentially some of the value of that type of process, of shedding that old life that's no longer working for you. It's a very violent process, but even just that was the page that card was tucked in on had some extra meaning, at least to me. So I hope you found that kind of interesting. Have a great day, and thanks for watching.